This podcast, Sovereignty Alliance, was created as a what-if, a dramatized look 1 year into the future, imagining how states might respond if today's administration pushed too far in trying to control local resources. At the time, it was just a warning, a possibility. But in light of recent events, attacks on the First Amendment, open challenges to free speech, and new efforts to centralize power, the line between imagination and reality has grown disturbingly thin. We want to be clear. What you're about to hear was produced as a work of speculative commentary, not a prediction. Yet the fact that so much of it now echoes the present should serve as a warning. The scenarios you'll hear are not inevitable, but they are possible, and they are closer than many of us expected. With the uncertainty of what is happening, Mom asked Dad to get the boat ready.
A long, long time ago, I can still remember how the country used to sort of make sense. And I knew if we had our say, we'd make it through Election Day with something more than chaos and pretense. But January made me shiver. No peaceful speech, no calm hand giver. Riots on the doorstep, democracy took the next step. I can't remember if I screamed as cable anchors pushed their names, but something broke our civic pride the day the nation sighed.
Late July 2026 marks the apex of the Trigger Month as federal authorities and the Sovereignty Alliance push toward the edge of a full national confrontation. The alliance now spans coast to coast, controlling key water, energy, and agricultural resources, while Washington deliberates on a high-stakes response. Last week, the alliance expanded coast to coast. Resource sites were secured, federal forces monitored. Now the stakes are higher, the margin for error is shrinking. Each decision could tip the balance. D.C. is beating its chest and is becoming erratic. The president isn't used to being told no. He thinks he can control everything. Recent photos show him as a tired old man.
Brinkmanship is underway. Cities coordinate, volunteers remain vigilant, and officials calculate every step. The cost of miscalculation is rising. Resistance wasn't added to the equation, and it is becoming increasingly clear that the point of no return is approaching quickly. Just how far can D.C. threaten before they have a full-scale fight on their hands? The tension is becoming palatable.
National Guard placements, federal warnings, and intelligence briefings increase. This is no longer a regional issue. It's nationwide. Each site could become a flashpoint. When egos come into play, decisions become dangerous. There comes a time to show restraint, and that isn't something the president is good at. Our contact in the White House says advisors are trying to slow everything down, and that only seems to frustrate the president more. Everything is someone else's fault, and advisors are being swapped out for more yes men.
As I follow events on the ground, the tension is palpable. Citizens continue daily life, but alertness and readiness are evident. I'm pretty sure my car has been flagged. When I have to deal with a checkpoint, I get the distinct feeling they already know who I am, and questions are more direct. The guardsmen are still polite, but ICE checkpoints are tense. There has been reported pushbacks against ICE agents that seem to not be related to the alliance agenda. It's more of a felling that citizens have had enough. It's no longer a true immigration issue, but more like a population realignment. From Texas refineries to New York financial facilities, from California dams to Arizona water points, standoffs are simultaneous and tense. Every site has state security, volunteers, and local officials on high alert. As I drive south towards Sacramento, the roads seem empty, and you occasionally see a convoys of guardsmen heading towards their next objective. Friends are sending me pictures of state and local police taking up positions in front of power plants, refineries, and dams. They aren't going to give up without a fight. D.C. thinks it is better equipped to control the state's assets, but the president's order to open the dams in early 2025 proved he doesn't have a clue to what he is doing. The fear is what will he do for that next headline.
The federal response intensifies. National Guard units are on standby, but direct confrontations are avoided. Each side tests the other's resolve.
Observation and patience define this stage. Each site is a calculated show of strength without immediate escalation. Even though the officers in charge of each side force know that escalation must be avoided at almost all costs, they worry about their troops in the field. For the guardsmen, they are weekend warriors. Most have had little more than basic training, and that wasn't for domestic peacekeeping, let alone being the aggressor. For local authorities, a little training for crowd control and traffic safety isn't a confidence builder. Both sides someone becoming a bit gung-ho and striking the first match.
Communication across the alliance is constant. Secure video calls, messaging, and on-site liaisons maintain coordination, but fatigue and tension are increasing. All of the state officials realize that they must coordinate their actions, but this isn't the role of the everyday politician. Rising above their basic instincts of covering their own asses isn't any easy thing to do. Mainstream media is finally coming into play. They have been gagged and sued so many times for trying to do their jobs that they are understandably gun-shy. Of course, having the president's frivolous lawsuits being shot down by the courts before they can gain traction has given hope back for free speech.
In Texas, refinery workers inspect barricades and equipment. California engineers monitor dam pressure while state police patrol. Louisiana volunteers check cargo manifests. Every site maintains vigilance. D.C. is threatening nonstop lawsuits. It's getting to the point where the state officials are almost using sign language as their response. We know we are close to a turning point. The public has long been disenchanted with what has become of the White House. Although plans for the Grand Ballroom continue, even though the public reaction to it has been a flat no. Our president has actually said he hopes for its completion in time for his 2028 presidential victory, even though by current law he can't be elected to a third term. It has become obvious to even his most devoted followers that the law isn't considered an obstacle. Just change the law seems to be the consensus.
Alliance control remains. Visibility, organization, and procedural compliance are central, but tension is ever present. A single misstep could escalate conflict.
Coordination and timing are crucial. Any error or flare of tempers could turn a standoff into a crisis. In Louisiana, we saw ICE agents trying to commandeer a couple of platform supply vessels, stating they had authority to check platform works visas. This is the closest we have seen shots being fired as dock workers brandished rifles and shotguns and using a megaphone declared, "Make my day." ICE agents paused long enough to check in, and they were ordered to back off and leave the area. Public opinion has shifted, and citizens from both sides have stated that they will not stand by any longer. Washington, D.C. is almost a war zone, with protest pushing ever closer to the Capitol and surrounding the president's golf course. Secret Service protection is starting to look like a joke. Yet the president continues with his boasts and claims that he is only doing what the people want. If he actually did what the people want, he would have resigned a long time ago.
Volunteers and officials act in concert, ensuring safety, compliance, and preparedness. As the truth continues to emerge, local citizens are coming out to stand with the state's law enforcement. The act caught on camera and hit every major news outlet was a small convoy of guardsmen being repelled by a state firefighting tanker truck's water cannon. The cheers from onlookers could be heard over the noise of the water shooting out. A rather cleansing effect. It almost looked like an Laurel and Hardy movie.
Back at Orcas Island, the Alliance monitors every site. Legal teams process motions. Logistical officers update supply chains. Risk analysts evaluate worst-case scenarios. The state's legal teams repel a continuous stream of lawsuits from the DOJ and respond in kind. There are so many pending suits that courts are just stacking them up and rubber stamping some of them. The DOJ is at the disadvantage, as most of their attorneys have either quit or been fired.
Late July 2026 marks the apex of the trigger month as federal authorities and the Sovereignty Alliance push toward the edge of a full national confrontation. The alliance now spans coast to coast, controlling key water, energy, and agricultural resources while Washington deliberates on a high-stakes response. July 26th to 31st, heightened tensions, Texas and Oklahoma energy lockdown. Federal National Guard units are deployed near key refineries. State police, supported by private security, block all federal access points. Clashes are limited to physical barriers, no lethal force used, but media coverage shows standoffs and tense negotiations. California and Western Water Defense Alliance engineers maintain control of water flows from major dams. Federal attempts to override controls remotely are thwarted by state cybersecurity teams. Farmers in Oregon and Washington report uninterrupted water supply, strengthening public support. Louisiana port standoff. Federal inspectors attempt to board ships for regulatory checks. Alliance police prevent access. National media broadcasts images of federal authority being physically resisted, a first in U.S. history. New federal moves. Executive review. White House and DOJ consider selective asset seizure, but advisors warn it could trigger violent escalation. National Guard is on standby but restricted to non-lethal enforcement. Economic pressure, federal funds to alliance, states threatened but not fully cut. Banking and supply channels remain functional. Federal messaging emphasizes legal authority, but begins to acknowledge potential negotiation. Alliance coordination emergency council meetings, governors and AGs convene daily operational briefings via secure video link. Resource allocation is adjusted dynamically to prevent shortages in member states. Legal teams prepare for both Supreme Court rulings and rapid federal countermeasures. Public messaging. Alliance emphasizes that our actions protect citizens, not disrupt them. Live streams and press releases highlight federal attempts to override state law, framing Washington as the aggressor. Public support in alliance states holds steady at 60 to 70%, with some states nearing 75% approval. Critical incidents. Texas refinery barricades. National Guard units wait outside barricades. Standoff continues with no escalation. California dams. Federal engineers unable to intervene. Alliance engineers maintain full operational control. Louisiana ports. Shipping delays minimal. Alliance maintains functional export/import operations. Analyst note. The Sovereignty Alliance has reached its first real test under maximum pressure. All actions remain within a legal and defensive framework, avoiding violent escalation. Federal leadership is cautious. A misstep could trigger a constitutional crisis or wider civil unrest. The alliance has demonstrated operational capability, legal resilience, and public support at a level Washington did not anticipate. Potential risk level, critical. Next decisions will determine whether the standoff is resolved, prolonged, or escalates into broader conflict.
Fix it, baby. Make it right. But every single promise fades into the night. You smiled and you shouted, told us what we craved, but left us all stranded the shadows of your wave. Broken promises blues ring it in my ears. Broken promises blues shiny gold. But empty hands are all we find. The story's getting old. Spin your tails, throw your smoke. Leave the people in the rain. We're tired of the circus. Tired of the pain. Broken promises blues ringing in my ears. Broken promises blues feeding all my fears. You played your games, left truth in the dust. Broken promises blues. Can't believe in you, I must. Promises broken, hearts left to bruise. Broken promises blues. Let the truth